Okay, everyone, this is Lynn Erickson, the chair of the MCC. And let's see, get myself up here. Okay. So I believe all the, whoops, there we go, can't get the stick. There we go. I believe we have all the council members here. I did just count one applicant so far. Dave, does that match what you see?
Yes. Okay. Unless they're on anonymously.
Yep. So soon, probably not. Okay. Okay.
I do not see it. Okay, I just muted everybody because somebody has two devices that are on and we were getting feedback. If you think you've dealt with it, I'll go ahead and unmute everybody now.
Hi, Dave.
Yep.
I just put out a call to Katerina.
Okay, I'll turn off recording again.
Get an answer, so I'm going to call our meeting to order. Okay. It is 7:16. Lynn Erickson, I'm going to call our council meeting to order. I'd like to start with our roll call. So, Claire, if you could call the roll for the council.
Barbara Matheson. I think people may be still muted. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I just unmuted Barbara.
Okay.
Barbara
Matheson?
She may. Here she is.
She's not.
She's here. She's waving at us. Okay. Dan Haggerty?
Here, just FYI, I'm having some video distortion.
Dave Olson?
Yes.
Lynn Erickson?
Here.
Michelle Weil?
Here.
And I'm here, Claire Toutant.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. For tonight's meeting, we'll follow a regular agenda order. And first up would be report from the Board of Supervisors. Carrie?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. Great. Good evening. My name is Carrie Dahlman. I'm the representative from Supervisor Don Horsley's office. And I just have a few updates. Some of them may be repeats from last week as well. But I just want to reiterate some of the resources available from the county related to the coronavirus pandemic that we're facing. The county's website is smcgov.org, and there you'll find various resources for residents and community members. And I just wanted to highlight a couple of them. So there's a number of efforts right now to ease the burden of some upcoming expenses, as many people's incomes may have been affected due to the coronavirus. Currently, the property tax deadline has been extended to May 4th, and you may pay online with no fees. There's also been a county-wide moratorium on evictions for COVID-19 related reasons if you're unable to pay your rent due to COVID-19. And there's also been the San Mateo County Strong Fund created. And right now it's open for donations and has received some seed money. And this money will go to help individuals and families, small businesses, and nonprofits in need that have been affected by this pandemic. As you also may know, the census is currently going on right now. It's more important than ever to participate in the census as it will bring funding to our communities. And the website for the census is just 2020census.gov. One other reminder, the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors is currently meeting every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. unless otherwise specified. And just like this meeting, the Board of Supervisors meetings are being held virtually, and you can still watch them through the Board of Supervisors website. So they're fully available to the public. And you may also submit public comment via email, and that email address is boardfeedback@smcgov.org. And one last thing as well, each member of the Midcoast Community Council this afternoon should have received an email message with a link to the transportation-focused survey that we've been working on together. I want to thank you again for your collaboration on this, and also acknowledge that as a community we are going through a difficult time. So if someone were to prefer to hold off and provide feedback later, there is a place in the survey to let us know that, and also provide your email so that we may follow up with you later. But I'd be happy to provide the links that I mentioned in the chat box as well. And that is all the updates from me.
Okay. Thank you, Carrie. Any questions for Carrie? Yes, Barbara?
Are you supposed to raise your hand somehow?
Well, I think what we need to do, because we don't get the pictures of all the council, if you want to talk, just say, Chair, I would like to speak.
Okay.
Go ahead, Barbara.
I had a question for Carrie about evictions. I think you said that there was a moratorium on corona-related evictions. I was thinking it was across-the-board moratorium. Am I wrong about that?
The moratorium is if a landlord is evicting a tenant for non-payment of rent. If that tenant is not able to pay their rent because of coronavirus, like let's say someone lost their job due to the coronavirus pandemic and they cannot pay their rent, that would be covered under the moratorium. They would not be able to be evicted. And the other part of it was related to no-fault evictions, I believe. But the premise of the eviction moratorium is related to coronavirus.
Thank you.
Okay. Barbara?
Chair, may I speak?
Yes, Barbara, go ahead.
Carrie, can you tell me when people are going to be able to start applying for the funds for the San Mateo County Strong? How do people go about applying for the funds?
I don't have the exact date of when we'll be able to start applying. I know that there's at least a draft application in the works already. That's something I can definitely look out for and update the council when that application becomes available.
Thank you.
Question from Dan Lynn.
Yes, Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Carrie. So the question is on the extension to the property taxes. I've heard a rumor that a form was supposed to be filled out. Was that rumor true, or is it just across the board extended to May 4th?
You know, I haven't seen anything about a form, but I can double check and get back to you.
It's across the board because the Board of Supervisors declared a holiday for the tax collector's office. And for every holiday that the office is closed, the deadline is extended. So it's extended to at least May 4th, at which point something may change again.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Carrie? Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda, are there any other public officials here? I don't see anyone, but if you are, and want to speak, announce yourself. Okay, very good. Okay, next up is our, any announcements? Okay. Next up is our consent agenda. We have minutes for April 8th. I'd like a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion. We approve the minutes of April 1st.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. Barbara, would you call it? Claire, would you call the roll?
Barbara?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well.
Okay, thank you. It approves 6-0. Thanks very much. Okay. Next up is our regular agenda.
Public comment.
What's that?
Public comment.
I'm sorry, you're correct. Okay, I'm getting out of order there. Okay, up on the agenda now would be public comment. Anyone in the public who would like to speak on something that is not on our agenda? If so, would you announce yourself? Okay. I see a screen from someone named Ann.
Hi. Yes, thank you. I would like to make a quick comment regarding the rate increase for water and sewer for the Montara and Lost Beach residents that are being asked to accept this, and it will be added to the tax bill in July. And I am concerned about that, and particularly with the pandemic going on, that expense is going to amount to several $1,000s per homeowner. And in the midst of this, we're still being asked to continue on with the Cypress Point project. It's been brought to our attention, I listened to the water board meeting, that it cost $1 million just to move the manhole cover that was near Carlos Street. And they're talking about, with the roundabout for that project, having to move it again at a cost of another $1 million that the ratepayers are going to have to pay. I'm very concerned about that and the project itself at this point. I would like to see perhaps MCC write a letter and further investigate this additional cost that I think people have not been made aware of. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ann. As we take in comments at this meeting, we aren't in a position to speak further to them. There will be an update on the Connected Coastside project by Joe LaCour from County. That's basically giving information about the details of what is being planned. And as that comes up, we'll certainly give consideration to what you're speaking about.
Chair, may I speak?
Yes, Claire.
Just for the sake of the minutes, can you verify your last name?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Ann Rothman, R-O-T-H-M-A-N.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I can't hear anybody. Hello?
Hello, Barbara. Can you hear me?
Okay.
I were on mute for some reason.
Okay, we want to do a check now. We're going to start with our interviews for the MCC position. And for this, we're interested in Dave having all of the council unmuted. So, Claire, just read the roll and make sure we're all here and can be heard.
Barbara,
Here.
you can hear?
I can hear you.
Okay. Dan,
Yes. I'm here.
Dave,
Yeah.
Lynn,
Yes?
Michelle.
Michelle is on mute. There she goes.
Oh, I'll unmute myself as I speak. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, we're all here then.
And Claire's here. Okay, now for the applicants, is Andra Anderson on?
Here.
Okay, very good. And is Katerina Williams on? Okay, Katerina did not show. I made an effort to reach her by text message and email. So at this point, we'll have to consider that she has withdrawn unless she comes on in the next few minutes. Ed Love. Hello, Ed.
Ed's muted just a moment. There he is. Should be now.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay, very good. So with just the two applicants for our session tonight, the framework that was put out in general called for a two-vote cycle, assuming that we would have to narrow it down to two finalists, but we'll just go with a one-vote cycle at this point. Okay, but to start it off, we're going to have each applicant take 4 or 5 minutes to speak to us about their interest in the position. And we're going to start off with Andra Anderson. Are you ready, Andra?
I'm ready, thank you.
Okay, very good. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an idea of my background and why I'm interested in the position. So I've lived in El Granada since 2012. I was transferred here by my employer, which is Sony. I originally am from Los Angeles, and I do not have any public service experience, but I do have a very diverse business background. I started in the entertainment industry out of school, worked as a production assistant for many TV shows, and personal assistant to many actors and studio heads. In 1983, I started at Columbia Pictures, which was eventually to become a entity under Sony Pictures. And I've been with Sony since 1983. During my tenure there, I worked as a legal administrator, corporate secretary for over 500 corporations, HR representative where I handled all relocations, educational programs, commuter services, and special events. And I was responsible for setting up 2 Sony entities in Los Angeles. When I moved here in 2012, the company moved me to the PlayStation Group. And at this moment, I'm the Senior Director of Workplace Operations. In this role, I am responsible for the management of over 1 million square feet of space. Our corporate headquarters are in San Mateo, and that consists of 420,000 square feet, a gym, a cafe, and a full engineering staff that I manage. I'm often working on multi-million-dollar office builds throughout North America and Canada, and am responsible for environmental health and safety and sustainability for the group as a whole. I am also a climate reality leader, being trained by Al Gore in 2012, and completed my CERT training, and I'm a member of the Coastside CERT group. I'm looking to identify what I'd like to do the next phase of my life outside of Sony, which will be coming up in a couple years, I think. I saw the posting on Nextdoor and thought it might be a good place for me to get some experience in public service. So that's my reason for applying. I'm looking to do the next phase, and that's about all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Andra. Okay, next up is Ed Love.
Yes, thank you, Len. Earlier today, I reread the purposes, which is sort of the mission statement of the Midcoast Council, and I agree with all 6 of the points that are spelled out in that mission statement. I think they're all very good. I support them heartily. First, I'd like to give you a little rundown of my experience. My father was an architect, so my summer jobs in high school and college were on construction sites. So I learned construction in reality, literally from the ground up. I've been involved in planning and design and construction ever since that time, a long time ago. I've served on the design review committees for both the county and Half Moon Bay, and know how the design review committee works in the process. I've served on the Half Moon Bay General Plan Advisory Committee and also the Main Street Bridge Committee in Half Moon Bay. There's many issues that come to the Midcoast Council that involve planning, design, constructions, and I believe I can bring some very professional expertise to the Midcoast Council about those things and be an asset to MCC in that realm. The second point I'd like to make is over the years, the very good relationships that I built up both at the county and the Half Moon Bay, both planning and building departments. I've learned which are the good planners and which planners will give you a good, competent, quick, and usually correct answer, which is often the case at the county. I know, have, like I said, good relationships with both planning and building, pretty much from the top all the way down. And I think that would be very valuable to Midcoast Council. And also the Half Moon Bay connection is good. That's where my office is. Because the coast side is not just the unincorporated areas and Half Moon Bay, it's the whole coast side. And all of the issues or many of the issues that face either the unincorporated areas or Half Moon Bay actually affect both. So I think we need to think of it as one continuous coastside area from the tunnels all the way south down past the golf course. And I've actually had other architects and owners call me when they've been boggled down by the process at the county. And I've always been able to point them to the right people to talk to and explain the process to them and help them get through the process, which at times can be very Byzantine and difficult. The third point that I would have is just the concern for the coast side. My wife and I have lived here in Moss Beach for 25 years. We love the coast side, and we would like to contribute to keeping it the beautiful place that it is. We have some ideas about how to make things better, things like traffic, housing, etc. And I think the Midcoast Council is a very good vehicle organization to bring those ideas forward. We think about it a lot and talk about it a lot, and we think we can really help everyone on the coast and would enjoy doing it.
Oh, gosh. Thanks, Benny.
So that's all I have for the moment. Any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Okay, great. Thanks very much, Ed. So the process for the next phase, by the way, if someone has a dog in the background, if you can identify yourself or mute if not needed, that would be helpful.
I brought her in.
Okay.
Good microphone, picked it up from outside.
We have 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks very much. Okay, so in this next phase, we'll go through questions coming from the council members. Just basically set up a list, which in order would be Michelle Weil, Claire Toutant, Barbara Mathewson, Dave Olson, Dan Haggerty, and then myself. Each council member will have the opportunity to propose a question to each applicant. It can be the same applicant to both or different ones. and then pass to the next council person. Applicants, just we're looking for your answers, both to concise, but address what comes up from the questions. We'll go for 3 cycles for sure, and then at that point, just check among ourselves and see if we'd like to go further. So I'm going to ask Claire to sort of keep track of who's up next, but we will start off with Michelle.
Thanks, Len. Quick question on this. Do you want me to keep time for answers, or are we going to let people go?
I think what we'll try to do is let people go. We're trying to keep these concise. If there's an issue, we'll do it. But other than that, let's just let it go.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, my first question is, a lot of us, as we've been on the council, have kind of identified specific projects or areas of interest and kind of pursue those for the betterment of the community. I'd like to hear from each candidate, what is a personal passion project of yours, and what you would want to do on the council to do what kind of project you'd like to take on to improve the community.
Well,
starting with
in the first cycle, we'll just go with Andra first, and then over to Ed.
Okay. Well, my passion, I actually found my passion a year or so ago when I went to the Climate Reality Leaders Conference. I had a task at my company to get an ISO 14001 certification, which is a sustainability certification, and it led me into learning about environmental health and safety and sustainability, which also led me to go become a climate reality leader. And so my passion is sustainability for the planet, safety for all, and how everything fits together. So I would like to take on projects that help keep the community, as beautiful as it is today, safe for all the people, and to keep the environment clean and healthy.
Ed?
Thank you. We can't hear you, Ed.
I can't hear
You're
him.
muted.
So, is
He's unmuted now.
Everybody hear me?
Yep, you're on.
Okay. The first thing I'd be interested in, and I mentioned it in my initial comments, about people who just get completely boondoggled by the county's process and lose hope and are confused by it and never seem to get anywhere. And I've gotten these stories over and over again. Like I've talked to this planner and that planner, and they get a different story from each one. So I think it would be a very good service for the Midcoast Council to help those people and get them pointed in the right direction. It's a daunting process, no doubt, and it's getting more daunted, obviously, as we're in the situation that we're in. But I've had very good comments and good success with talking to the planners that I know that will give us good answers. And as a matter of fact, we just worked last week because there was a problem. Obviously, people can't apply for planning review and building department review if it's shut down. So I worked with the building department and one of the planning techs, and it's something that's been in the works for a while, but it's never happened, and that's electronic submittal. And we're now able to do that. And last week I submitted 3 projects electronically, and they're going to be checked. And the COVID thing has sort of accelerated that process, which should have been in effect a long time ago, but now it is, and it's going to be a very good situation from now on out. And the second thing, of course, would be a couple big issues. One of them would be traffic. I have some ideas about that. The third would be What was the third? Yep, traffic and forgot the third one.
That's a good starter there, Ed. So
Okay.
I think next up is Claire.
Okay. I'm going to ask my two hardest questions first and get them out of the way. For Andra, we try to get some diversity on the council, geographic, if nothing else. And right now there's 6 people on the council. 3 are from Moss Beach and 3 are from El Granada. You're from El Granada. Why is there something special about your being from El Granada that we should say that you're going to add to that delegation?
Oh, that is a hard question because I'm fairly new to El Granada, so
Okay.
I don't have a lot of preconceived ideas about those things. I think maybe my being involved in the CERT team, I'm a zone lead for CERT and I'm very involved in the CERT team. That might be one of the things that would be helpful in the emergency response area.
So at this point, just a quick change on the process. I think we just assume I'll handle the transition from speaker to speaker. But to the council members, when you pose your question, you can choose either person to go first. There might be a reason to choose one or the other. So next up is Barbara.
No, wait a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry, Claire. Did you have another question?
There's a question for Ed.
Yes.
That's how we're doing this, right? We each have a question about people? Okay. Ed, a couple months ago, there was a hearing on some project or other, and immediately after that, there was an opinion piece in the review saying that basically the hearings on development brought out a lot of comments from the public that were not helpful and even counterproductive. I know you were on the CDRC, so you probably have a different point of view on that, but I just wanted to see what you thought about that.
I'm not sure. I mean, people talking about
people objecting to
houses are too tall or they're too big or whatever, things that are covered actually in the zoning ordinance and are vetted before they ever get to design review. So, yes, very often people do come and are concerned about things that really aren't, shouldn't be controversial at all, or shouldn't be even discussed with the planning review before it goes to CDRC.
Thank you.
So is that it for this round, Claire?
That's it.
Okay. Barbara?
Thank you. I'd like to start with Ed. I'm curious as to when we have had a couple of presentations that your projects as an architect are presented. How have you been worked at being a council member and presenting the or something in El Granada when people are complaining about those projects? How are you going to deal with that as a council member?
I'm having a real problem understanding that. Could you repeat? It was very garbled. There's other things coming in.
Okay, I'm asking as a council member, how are you going to be able to present projects that people in the community object to, and how are you going to deal with that as a council member?
Oh, I have to recuse myself.
You're speaking.
My project. I mean, I couldn't very well pass judgment or present my own project or have an opinion on it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Just like anything else, when I was on CDRC and I had projects, I would recuse myself from it and present it as a normal architect or owner would do.
Mm-hmm.
and then leave the room when the discussion was going on.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
And Andra, I'm just wondering if there's any projects on the Midcoast that you're interested in or concerned about that the MCC has been dealing with for the last several years or recently. Is there any projects you're concerned about?
Well, there's one, and I am not as familiar as Ed with, or any of you, especially on the projects. But there is one that I know that was going in over where the grove of eucalyptus trees are across from Frenchman's Creek. I think there's a hotel mentioned there. So that grove of eucalyptus trees, from what I've heard, is a mating ground for for monarch butterflies. And that would be something that I would hate to see happen, being as I'm really into climate reality and sustainability. There's also one that I've heard of.
Not to interrupt you, but that's Half Moon Bay. I'm talking about.
Oh, that is? Okay, then I don't know how far it goes. It goes just down to Pillar Point Harbor?
Miramar.
Yeah.
The
Miramar, okay. Okay, well then the one that I know about and I've actually had a little conversations about is the one where by the airport there's, I guess, a farm there now and they want to put in some low-income housing. That's something I'm a little concerned about and I feel it's kind of controversial and I would like to learn a lot more about that and see where that is beneficial for the coast side.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Dave, you're up next.
All right. I'm going to ask the question of both applicants. It's a really open-ended question, so it's okay if you take a second to think about it. Do you think the issues facing the Midcoast for all of our communities, and by communities I mean Montara, Moss Beach, El Granada, and I also mean as communities, the residents, the visitors, and the workers, people who work on the Midcoast. And if you do think there are differences, what do you think are the most significant differences? So that's a 10-minute answer, but try and boil it down. And go ahead and start, Ed Love.
I heard you say a lot of things, but I'm not sure what the question is.
Well, the question is essentially, do you see the Midcoast as a single community, or do you see a lot of diverse, important issues?
Well, I think I mentioned it before, excuse me, that I see it as a community, and a project that I would be interested in, it's even mentioned in your mission statement, is consolidation of the Midcoast, and both of utilities and just of the whole Midcoast, because right now it's very scattered, and the impact we have on the county is sometimes questionable. But if we were all one consolidated entity, whatever you want to call it, would it be Half Moon Bay or the coast side or whatever, you'd be able to determine your own future and how we would want the coast side to be, and not be under the sort of the heavy-handed sometimes county.
Okay, thank you. Andra?
Yeah, I think as you stated, there's quite a few different issues. There are the people who live here and the issues that are important to them, and there is especially the traffic, because I have to deal with it every day. There's the issues of the people that work here, especially some of the workers that work in some of the restaurants, the lower income people, and so you want to make sure that you have you also accommodate them, because you need to have those people in your community too, and not kind of push them out by getting things so overpriced that they can't live here. I think, and it's a fact that we are a place that people like to visit. So there's also the people that come to visit. And so I don't know, because I haven't been in this before. I have no experience in this area. But I would think it's a multi-layer issue.
Okay. Thank you. So that was the one question to both applicants, right, Dave?
Yes.
Dan, you're up next. Can you determine who the source of the static is, or is that just in the system, Dave?
I think it might be coming from Barbara, so I'm going to mute you, Barbara, and find out.
I don't hear anything.
I know, but you keep popping to the list of active speakers.
So something we can...
You can unmute yourself if you have something to say. Okay, go Dan.
Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. I'm still having some video distortion and an occasional audio distortion. So I'm curious, are other people, it sounded like Ed Love was hearing some distortion, audio distortion. And well, anyway, I think at the end of the meeting we need to kind of just kind of go over this and retouch it. So my question is around traffic on the coast side. We have a unique problem with traffic here. You know, a lot of people commute. In the mornings, traffic moves pretty good till a certain hour, and then it gets pretty bad. My question is, you know, knowing that, you know, we have the 2-lane highway, and it's my opinion that we don't have much room to really expand on that, so we're going to likely keep the 2-lane highway. And do you have any ideas of how, you know, we can improve the situation, and would you support a feasibility study for pedestrian underpasses at locations that are candidates?
And who do you want to answer first?
Andra?
I definitely would support a feasibility study. I drive the traffic every day. And the one thing that scares me the most is the pedestrians that cross the road. So that's something that I would be very interested in seeing what the different options were. I don't have any specific ideas myself, but I think it's worth a study and to see what someone who has the experience and who can give you the options and options that you can explore.
Thank you. Ed?
Okay. You mentioned that the highway couldn't be widened, I think, and I'm not suggesting that it should be widened, but when you drive down 1, you see the utility poles on each side. That basically describes the right-of-way for Highway 1. So the highway could be widened. I'm not saying it should be, but I'm just saying it could be. I do have an idea for traffic, and it involves having
Ed, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't hear any of your answer. I got it dropped me off the call. I just got back on. Would you please start over?
Sure. You mentioned the first part of your question that we have a 2-lane highway and it can't be widened. I'm not suggesting that it should be widened, but when you drive down 1, you see the utility poles on each side, to the east and to the west. Those utility poles in general describe the right-of-way for Highway 1, and it's very wide. It's hundreds of feet wide in places. So the highway could be widened if that was determined to be part of the solution for traffic. The second part of your question was, do I have any ideas for solving the traffic problem? And I do. My idea would be to create a traffic hub in Half Moon Bay and get together with Samtrans, because the only solution is to get cars off of the highway, both on weekends and during the week. And the traffic hub would be located in Half Moon Bay, with Samtrans picking up people in the morning, both students and commuters, taking to the transit hub, and then express buses going from the transit hub east to San Mateo or to Caltrans stations. And the high-tech corporations could send their buses there to pick people up for Google and Facebook and any of the other high-techs over the hill. And that's something I've thought about for a long time, and I think that would be something that a feasibility study should certainly be done for that. And I would like to present that in the future to the MCC and to both everybody on the coast, Half Moon Bay and the unincorporated areas. And the MCC is the perfect vehicle for doing that. And the third part of your question was pedestrian underpasses. To get people across the road, I would prefer pedestrian bridges to underpasses. Underpasses very often have a problem with flooding, and they also have a problem with security. They can be dark, very confined spaces. So if it's determined that we need safer pedestrian crossings, I would prefer pedestrian bridges.
Thank you.
Okay.
Len, I can't hear you.
Who's next one?
I'm unmuted. Thank you. Okay. My question is, on the council, you bring to the council your background, your circle of acquaintances and organizations to help inform what you know about the community. Can you give an example or two of how you would reach out to get additional information? You know, information about what the community thinks that you don't currently have. Obviously, people would come to the council itself, but what other ideas do you have for outreach to the community to inform your views? And I'll start with Andra.
Well, that's something I've thought about, but I would probably go with, I know you have the community meetings, the council meetings. I know there's Nextdoor. You can inform people on Nextdoor. I don't know, you have a website. You can use that. I don't know if you have a Twitter page. I mean, that's the way I would go. And talking to people. In my work, I talk to a lot of different people about a lot of different things, and that's how you get ideas, just talking to people themselves.
Okay. Thank you. Ed?
On my idea, I remembered the thing that I forgot the first time around. That was the consolidation of the coast side, but I guess I mentioned that. Those are kind of my two big pet projects.
Yeah.
So I would write up a paper, a project, and present it to MCC first with my ideas, and get feedback from MCC. And once we all agreed on what we were putting forth as a concept, as an idea, then probably have it published in the review, mail it out, perhaps, open a public, have a special public meeting, workshops, of course, and present the projects and the ideas in that way.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. So I've run this the first cycle, flexibly. I think we've had good interaction and comments from our applicants, and I'm going to propose we'll just take one more pass through. I think relative to our time budget that fits. So we're going to go back to the top, and that would be to start off with Michelle.
Okay. So my question is for both candidates, and I'll start with Ed first this time. Do you support or oppose housing development on the coast? What restrictions do you think should be placed on new developments, and what do you think needs to be opened up more?
Well, the zoning. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's for you, Ed.
Did you want? Was that to me? Okay.
Yep.
The zoning is the zoning, and the zoning tells what can go where. And I think the county, Steve Monowitz, says we're not going to be changing the zoning. And then that goes back to consolidation, because under consolidation, if it was just one large coastside community, then you could make your own zoning code, your own zoning laws, and determine exactly how you would want it to be.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Andra?
Well, I feel, as living here, that I would personally not want a lot more of dense housing. I see things, especially in El Granada, where you have the little tiny houses and there's like an apartment building next to it. And I think it would be nice to see things that were more cohesive in design as they go into construction. I also would not want a lot more apartment buildings, which I seem to be doing a lot of. One of the reasons my husband and I moved here is because we liked the sort of rural atmosphere of the coast. So I would try to keep it as sort of rural as I could, but still figure out a way to have cohesive and I don't know what you call it, like I don't want to say cute cottage. You know what I mean? I want something that would be just cohesive and have a nice, cozy look to it, and keep the coast side kind of rural as it is. That's one thing everybody loves about it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Claire? Claire, you're muted. Dave, can you check Claire's mute?
I just punched. You can hear me now, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. For Ed first, I'm intrigued by your idea about consolidation, by which I guess you mean that we would have one government for the whole coast side. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. How receptive do you think the community would be to that? What process do you see that going through?
Well, I think that depends. I mean, whether it's Montero or Princeton or El Granada, Moss Beach, they might all have different opinions, and it would probably have to be a vote. I know LAFCO has come out in favor of that, both for utilities and I think just for consolidation of all the communities. Now that's happened in Pacifica years and years ago. Mm-hmm. There was Rockaway and Lindemar and Manor and all these little communities, very similar to what it is now here on the coast side. And they consolidated all those, and they have one city council, one city manager, one utility. It makes perfect sense both economically and just in determining your own future.
Okay, thank you. And for Andra, you're relatively new in the community, and you're stretching to do something that's a little different from what you've done before. It would mean that you'd be learning a lot of things all at once. And I'm just asking, in terms of your background, do you feel like you are good at picking up new things?
Is this for Andra?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I will tell you that the reason I've been at Sony for 36 years is because I've always been one who takes on new things with vim and vigor. When I had to get a ISO 14001 certification for my company last year, it normally takes 2 years to do it, and I did it in a little over a year. I learned all about environmental health and safety and sustainability within that year. I have always picked up new things, which is partly why I've had so many different jobs at the company that I've been at.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks very much. Barbara?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Andra, I'd like to know what your opinion is on consolidation.
Well, I have a little bit of experience in something similar. And when I lived in Los Angeles, I lived in what is now called Santa Clarita. When I moved there many years before, it was a conglomeration of little communities that got together and made themselves into a city. And when I found that there was good and bad in that, here I wouldn't know what that good and bad would be, but having experience with it in Southern California gave me at least an insight into that not everything's, it's not a slam dunk that everything's perfect just because you do that. You'd have to really research what the ins and outs were.
Okay. Thank you. And Ed, what do you see as the role of the MCC in the community?
Was that for me?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Well, the MCC now is an advisory group to the county, and I know very often that's frustrating to the MCC and people on the coast. So I see MCC as being the driving force behind getting improvements for traffic and perhaps pushing consolidation of all the different utility groups and consolidation of the communities on the coast. I think those are all things that will really improve the coast and, once again, determine our own future the way we want it. There could be a representative from each one of the communities on the city council. Princeton, El Granada, Moss Beach, Montera, and maybe Half Moon Bay would have 2, and they should be council people that are they're not at large, they would be council people that are geographically by districts. But
thank you.
That's my idea, so that's all up for discussion.
Okay. Let's see. Barbara, did you want to continue on with Andra?
I had my 2 questions.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, Dave Olson.
Okay, this question is for both applicants, and I'll have Ed go first this time. Which functions of San Mateo County do you think are most important to the Midcoast? And, sorry, go ahead, Ed.
Definitely planning. I think that's pretty much accepted by everyone, and that's a lot of the frustration by people on the coast.
Okay, thank you. Andra?
Well, this will be a short one because I don't have much experience with that. So I would think planning is one. I deal with the planning department a lot myself when I do construction projects. But I'm sorry, I can't really answer that one well.
Okay, it's okay with Len. I'm going to ask a quick follow-up on that since they were both short answers.
Go ahead.
How happy are you with the way the San Mateo County Sheriffs provide police services to the Midcoast?
Mm-hmm.
And, I'll go ahead and start with Andra this time.
Okay. Well, I think they're kind of sparse. I think, and only from my experience with them, I don't have any issues with them except there doesn't seem to be a lot of coverage.
Good. Thanks. Ed?
I think it's fine. I think they're very good. I see them around a lot. And of course, we used to have the CDRC in the back room of the sheriff's substation there, so I got to know some of the people there. They've always been very responsive as far as I've known. Whenever I've talked to them, they're polite but firm. So I think they're doing a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Dan, you're up next. Okay, Dan, are you still there? Is he still there? I'm trying to see.
Okay, it looks like someone muted me, and I
Okay,
just...
you're back on now, Dan. Go ahead.
All right, so a two-part question. What is it about the coast side that you love today? And what will you do on the MCC to minimize a drastic change from what we have today? Either Andra?
Yeah, it's Andra. What I love about the coast side is the sort of the natural part of it, the fact that it's not overbuilt. Well, in some places it seems to be, but it's not really overbuilt. I love the trees and the ocean, and I would try to keep as much of the coastal charm as that I could. That would be something that would be very important to me. And to make sure that we didn't do anything that was going to erode the environment of the coast side.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ed?
My turn, I guess. We love the same things. That's why we're here. The ocean and the more relaxed atmosphere. Plus, it's close to the city, so when you want to go in and go to a show or go to an excellent restaurant or museum that's very nearby. We've grown to know a lot of people all up and down the coast side, very friendly, and the thing that I would say, the big thing that you talked about was just what I have been talking about, and that would be consolidation, so that we're no longer beholden to the county and determine our own future and keep it the way all the people on the coast side want to keep it.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. I'd say at this point, I mean, although we've just gone through 2 rounds, we've really covered a lot of territory and ideas in our questions and comments. So I think both the council and the applicants who've responded with their ideas. So at this point, I'd like to move forward. We're moving toward having a vote. We'll just need to have 1 round of votes. Any questions or comments overall from the council before we do that, if anyone wants to say?
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Barbara.
What about the third candidate?
I tried to reach the candidate on all 3 forms of connection, phone, message, and text. They have been fairly hard to keep connected as it is, so I think we'll have to consider that they've dropped unless that's, I don't see other way around that.
Len, this is Dan.
What's that, go ahead?
Yeah, this is Dan. Yeah, I think under these circumstances, with the new video system and just the situation that we have here, I think we should postpone the vote. I think we should. We do not know why Katrina is not on. And I think that it's wrong to just eliminate her based that she was not able to make a connection.
Okay, so fair point. So I tell you what, and I think that's probably the most critical, the main critical thing to look at now. And really there's just probably one option. Either we take a vote with the current applicants here, and then one would be free to vote for the one who's not here, but obviously we have nothing from her, or to postpone. So I'm going to just go through our list in the same order we've gone through, just to get feedback on that point. I'll start with Michelle.
Well, I would like to ask, when's the last time any of us had communication with her, and what was that communication? Was she anticipating joining, or, because if you,
I spoke with her by phone. Yeah, I spoke with her by phone about 2 days ago. I think she felt she was ready to go. She's overall, making the connection has been difficult just to get response. But
why do you say that? Because of like a phone issue, or just you haven't been very?
I'm really not sure. Both. We had occasion where we catch her, but she couldn't take the call and would not get back to us quickly.
Yes, and I can say that I talked to Katerina in person, and she was extremely busy, and twice she was going to return a call after I talked to her briefly and never did. She was on the April 1st meeting call, so I don't think it's a technical problem.
Okay. In that case, my opinion would be to move forward with the vote tonight.
Okay. Next up, Claire.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate. It would be better if we had known that she wasn't going to come of her own volition, but I really can't see delaying it.
Okay, so you'd be for going ahead and vote?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Next up, Barbara.
Well, I agree with Claire and Michelle. I would have liked to have heard from her because she seemed quite interested last week. And I'd like to see somebody from Montero on the council, but, we got to move on.
Okay, it's a go. Thank you. Dave?
Yeah, I think we should go ahead and vote. If we hear from her tomorrow or the next day that she had some technical problem, we can reconsider and have it at a future meeting. I don't think that's likely, but we could reconsider.
So,
and I don't think the video meetings are a reason to delay. We will probably be having video meetings for the next 2 or 3 months.
Okay. Dan, I think you raised the point fairly. Do you have any other comments?
Yes, the comment is that I don't see that it's so urgent that we must eliminate Katrina. I think that it is reasonable to delay the vote. We've had a lot of good time spent tonight asking questions. I think that it could be easily, if Katrina, for whatever reason, expresses that she really, really wanted to be on this meeting tonight, and for whatever reason she was unable, that she would be able to essentially make responses based on the video recordings of the questions, and at that time we as a council could have a better overview of a broader candidates. So my vote would be to table the vote, and I just do not see the urgency. I know it's oftentimes people just like to get a task done and move forward, but this is a very important would be a very important vote and decision that we would make as a council. So I think it would be best to table the vote.
My sense is the comment from the council is that all people are for going ahead to vote. I believe from the contacts that I've had with Katerina that she has her own independent company and has been very pressed there. And so my inclination, my direction is we'll go ahead and take our vote, but I will get in touch with Katerina. And if she feels either, she might say, I realize it really just does not work. I don't have the time. That would finish it right there. If she really feels that there was a reason why she could not either come or get in touch with us, then I'll bring it back to further opening.
May I speak, Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
My feeling is that we should decide it tonight because I don't know that it's fair to the candidates to leave them hanging like that. And I wouldn't want her to answer the questions that the people asked tonight independently because she would have the advantage of being able to see if the other people had already said.
Okay. I see there are really then two options that have been suggested. One is that we vote tonight and go with whoever has the best vote. Two would be to take a vote and then consider keeping it open if we speak with the applicant. So this is the same as, so that's a vote and go with the decision, or vote and consider whether to keep it open. So, Claire, could you call the roll between those two options? Does anybody want me to state those again?
Yeah, I do. I can hear you.
Okay, we're going to vote. We have a vote with two options. One is make the vote tonight, and that will finish our consideration. The other is take the vote tonight, but contact the applicant, and if there's a strong reason why they could not be there, reopen it. Okay, so those are the two options I see. So could you call anybody else with questions before we do the roll? Okay, Claire, could you call a roll?
Barbara?
I vote.
Am I muted?
Go with.
No, it's good. Just go ahead, Claire.
Barbara?
We vote tonight. Okay. And it stands.
Dan?
Vote tonight, keep it open.
Okay. Dave?
Vote tonight.
Michelle?
Vote tonight.
Glenn?
Vote tonight.
I vote tonight as well.
Okay. So we have a 5-1 vote, correct, Barbara?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to now move ahead with our vote. Dave, do you have that vote chart up where you can fill it in for just the final round? You're muted, Dave.
I can bring it up.
Thank you.
Go ahead and start.
Do you want to look, so we can see the vote directly, if you can get that up and share it with us?
Yeah, you're going to have to give me a second.
No problem.
Sorry, it wasn't all prepared for this part. All right, I'll see it.
So, Dave, could you scroll down to the second tier? Just scroll down.
Want me to go all the way down?
Yeah, down below. Okay, there. So now you need to go up slightly.
So somebody
My name is
What's that?
Okay, go ahead.
Michelle's not on there.
You can't see the display doesn't show the place for the names at the top. There you go. Just in one column, put Andra, the other column, put Ed at the top. No.
You want me to label it.
Good. Okay. So Claire, would you call the roll in order that's up on the screen?
Okay, so are we ready?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yeah, also there's an extra L in my name. I'm going to vote for Andrew.
Drop an X in there, Dave.
I'm sorry, Michelle, I had trouble understanding you. Could you repeat?
Sorry, there's a big echo here.
I can't hear it.
Okay, so I'm going to mute everybody for a second, and then, Michelle, you unmute. Each person unmute as you vote. Okay, and to solve the echo problem, I've muted everybody. Each council member unmute as you vote, and Claire, you'll probably have to unmute to call the roll.
Can I go ahead?
Yes.
Okay, and I just wanted to note there's an extra L in my name, just one L. My vote is for Andra.
And that automatically makes that second. Okay.
I don't know that we need to do second place votes.
Me as well.
All right. My vote is for Andra and Ed second. Barbara?
My name is also misspelled. I only have one T, and Andra's my first choice too.
Okay.
Dave?
My vote is for Ed first.
Dan? Dan, we have your vote?
I just unmuted Dan.
Yeah, so my vote is for Andra.
Len?
Hold on a second. No, you're muted. Here you go.
My vote's for Andra.
So your vote is?
Andra? Okay. So our vote is 5-1 for Andra. I want to say to both applicants, I really thought the discussion was excellent, and you represent strong opportunities of different kinds, and really appreciate your overall contribution to this effort. Okay. That will conclude this agenda item. Next up, we have Joe LeClaire. So, can you mute everyone but Joe and me and you, Dave?
I'm sorry.
Dave, can you mute everyone again?
Good evening. I apologize. There's a lot of echo. I don't know if everyone else is hearing that as well.
Okay.
But now that's better. Good. Thank you, Chair Erickson and council members. My name's Joe LeClaire. I'm the planning manager for San Mateo County, and I really appreciate the opportunity to share our latest thinking on an approach for conducting virtual public meetings to inform the public about the Connect the Coastside plan, and to get public input that can inform changes to the plan and better address, so that it better addresses community interests. For those listening in who might be unfamiliar with the Connect the Coastside project, it is a community-based transportation plan to help improve mobility and safety on the coastside for residents and visitors. It identifies programs and improvements for the Highway 1 and Highway 92 corridors to improve mobility and to accommodate the Midcoast future transportation needs. The plan will also identify priority projects that will then be eligible to apply for funding. Next slide, please. Oh, I forgot to give Dave a chance to put the slideshow up. Is it up?
Joe?
Yeah.
With apologies, I have to interrupt you for a minute here. I did get a text coming in from Katerina. So given the discussion we just had, I have to bring this up to the council. And I just don't want to leave it hang or interrupt you. Basically, Katerina sent a text to me at about 7:30, but I did not note it at that time. And she said, I feel terrible. I misread the time to be a start of 8 p.m. I didn't realize the error till around 7:40, as she was preparing to begin at 8 and felt it was too late to interrupt the meeting. So I think that is the reason for her miss. That being said, I feel it only fair, given what we talked about, to have that full information. It may not change anybody's vote, but I would at least like to have the closure there at this meeting. Okay. So what I would like to do is have Claire recall the vote, just to see if, again, what's he saying? It was a misread of the time. Nothing more to say about it than that.
Okay.
What are we voting on?
Well, I think the consideration is whether we would like to stay with the vote we took, or try to determine if there is a way to go another cycle. I mean, it's...
So, Len, before we do that, can you go on mute and call her on the phone and see if she's prepared to join the meeting? She was not on the meeting, so she didn't hear anything that was already said. Mm-hmm. So we could interview her and have her make her statement, and then we could re-vote.
I'll give that a try, Dave. So I'm going to go on mute.
And to avoid a big blank spot in the meeting, I'm going to stop recording temporarily.
And you know, we recognize that this is a challenging environment to work in, a lot of technical difficulties, and yet, you know, as Council Member Dave pointed out, you know, we know that we're going to be under this shelter-in-place order for some time, so we felt it was important to develop a strategy for continuing to engage with the public on this plan. Next slide, please. So the first proposal that we have is to create a 15-minute slideshow that would be it'd be a narrated slideshow posted to the website that would give an introductory overview to folks who were new to the plan, had not any sort of background or information about it. It would be a narrated overview of the Connect the Coastside project that would give them entree and enough information to hopefully whet their appetite for further inquiry. Then the first virtual meeting that we planned would be a overview of Connect the Coastside, a deeper dive than that 15-minute overview presentation that would provide ample opportunities for public input in the meeting. Then we proposed two geographic specific meetings that would address, the first one would be focusing on the projects and proposals for Moss Beach and Montara. And the second meeting would cover projects and proposals for the El Granada, Miramar, and Princeton areas. Now, we recognize that there is some proposals for land use changes and for Highway 92 improvements, and we think that having another introductory slideshow similar to the one I described for number 1 on the website to provide feedback opportunities for people, for the public on those items. We felt that it would be difficult to get a large group of people out for a Highway 92 geographic specific meeting. Next slide, please. So the meetings would involve overview presentations. So we would present the material and use a variety of techniques to engage the public using polling questions that people could vote on, say using their phones, to give everyone a sense of what the feeling is in the room or in the virtual room about that particular question, and as a means of kind of bringing people together. Of course, there would be chat options and other ways for people to engage with us. We would also have facilitated breakout groups with no more than 4 or 5 people in them. So we would have a stable of facilitators who would engage with these folks in a virtual roundtable discussion, and then that information would be shared back out, and then we would close with a summary of the high points that we heard and next steps. Next slide, please. So in addition to those virtual meetings, we have already met with and presented to 2 special districts, Montero Water and Sanitary District and the Granada Community Services District, and we're also meeting with community organizations. We are scheduled to present to the Chamber of Commerce, and we're working with other community organizations to schedule virtual meetings with them. And as Carrie Dahlman mentioned at the opening of your meeting, we've been crafting a survey that will be available in both English and Spanish, and will be posted to the web and distributed widely throughout the Midcoast to give people a chance to weigh in on high-level issues related to mobility and give us some feedback that will be useful in guiding our future modifications to the Connect the Coastside plan. Next slide, please. And so now we're really interested in hearing throughout this process, we've been grateful for the advice and guidance of the Midcoast Community Council in developing the survey and other outreach approaches. We're anxious to get your feedback tonight about this approach and ongoing as we try to engage with the community in this important project. And I am available to answer any questions you might have.
So, Joe, just because I forgot to turn recording back on, I'm going to start at the first slide and spend just a few seconds on each slide, and then we'll do that.
What are we going to do?
I'm just going to go through the first 5 slides when I didn't have recording on. That was an error on my part, so I just want everybody to have a chance to see the slides.
Oh, okay.
Just like 5 seconds per slide.
No worries.
To anybody who's watching this video, I do apologize for that lack of recording. We're all still new on this. Okay, go ahead with your, go back. We're done.
Fantastic. Well, I'm available for any comments or questions that you might have about this approach to conducting these virtual meetings. We're endeavoring to get a lead facilitator under contract and begin detailed planning of these meetings. We hope to roll them out in May, during the month of May.
I'm seeing something that says meeting paused.
That may be the recording, I'm not sure.
What was your question, Lynn?
Oh, on my screen it says meeting paused.
That's the sharing.
Okay. So we have all the council on and Joe. So I'm going to just go through the council list by name and allow people to ask the council to ask questions. Ask just each person to take maybe a couple of minutes, no more than that, to put questions forward. And so I'd like to start with Michelle. That's some very bad static out there for me.
Yeah, we're getting something from somebody, but mute Claire and Barbara until they're ready to go.
Yeah, it'd be great if everyone put themselves on mute unless you're about to talk. And the challenge is just remembering to unmute yourself or taking a couple extra seconds. My only question on this is, thank you for this presentation. With the public meetings, having the separation for Montera and Moss Beach versus Miramar, El Granada, and Princeton, is there a need to have those as separate meetings, or could it be that we have just 2 meeting times where people could attend, either one, just based on their availability?
I think that both options are possible. We got some advice from some members of the council to pursue geographic focused meetings because we felt that there is a lot of information in the plan. There is in each community, to cover the number of auto and bicycle and pedestrian and transit initiatives within that community, or those 2 or 3 communities as we've grouped them, would take quite a bit of time, especially in this virtual environment, which we all know is slow. So there's that consideration. But we could do the entirety we could design a meeting that we did twice. We could absolutely do that.
Let's go through. Claire?
Okay, thank you.
Claire,
Thank you, Joe. I don't have any other questions.
Okay. Barbara?
Am I unmuted or?
You are unmuted.
Okay. I'm just a little bit confused about what you're planning to do in May. You're going to, these meetings will be held, this month? And then in May, you're going to do what?
Well, this month we are continuing to meet sort of one-on-one with different organizations to share information about the plan and try to increase the awareness on the Midcoast of the Connect the Coastside plan. So we're trying to set the table, I guess, is the best way to characterize it for May, so that when we conduct these larger meetings, we hope to have as many people participate as possible. And we think that doing some outreach in April, this was outreach that we had planned to do in March before the onset of the coronavirus and the shelter-in-place order. So we basically put those meetings off for a month. And we had planned to do the meetings that we're now planning to do in May. We thought we'd be starting those next week, but obviously we're not doing that. So what we'll be doing in the month of April is these sort of one-off small group meetings to build understanding and awareness of the plan, and then in May, conducting community-wide meetings to give people an opportunity to weigh in and we do want to have, have them at times that are convenient so that the most people who want to participate can.
Yes.
Okay. My just concern is that this has been going on for 5.5 years. It was put on hold for a while, and it was a very contentious thing several years ago. The community is not going to be happy with these virtual meetings, even though I know that's going to be the way we're doing things for a few months. I'm just wondering, why can't we put it off till the community can get back together again? Why are we rushing now? I'm just concerned about that.
We don't see it as rushing, and if we find that at the end of the process that there's still a need for additional feedback and input from the community, then we'll take time to do that.
So next up is Dave Olson.
Not really questions, but two suggestions. One is, when this is publicized, make it clear that people are interested in both geographical areas. They are welcome to attend both meetings.
Yes.
And the other is, one of the advantages of the virtual meetings is they can be recorded, so people can watch them later. Probably not the breakout sessions, but certainly the main parts and the report out afterwards. It would be really nice if those could be recorded and then made available on the website.
Yeah, I have to admit, thank you for those comments. I'm unsure about the technical capabilities of Zoom. I believe that's the software we'll be using to conduct these meetings. I know that Susan Clark is on the phone, who knows a bit more about the software than I do, and it may be possible that we can record and share out the small breakout group meetings as well.
Yes, that is technically feasible. I just wasn't sure if it might cause people to be a little bashful.
That's a good point. A good consideration.
Okay. Dan?
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Yeah, I'm in agreement with Barbara. I think that my opinion is that we're going to have far fewer people participating with the online setup. So that concerns me a great deal. The decisions that will come out of this are going to be far-reaching, and not only are they, this is a big deal, but also, whenever the meetings are held, I'd like to know, how are we reaching out to the people, not the city council, not the organizations, but the other people in the community, specifically residents of the city of Half Moon Bay, Pescadero, Pacifica, that will also be impacted by any changes on Highway 1 through the Midcoast.
That's a really good point, and I will commit to report back to the council on our outreach approach for these virtual meetings, so that we actually haven't finalized our outreach, sort of our noticing approach for the meetings. And I agree with you that it's really important that everybody feel like they have an opportunity to participate, and so we obviously need to have a robust engagement process where we can notice all those who have an interest. I mean, one of the challenges, of course, is that one of the largest groups of folks who have an interest in this includes the people who come to visit the coast on the weekend, who live on the bay side of the hills or in San Francisco, and it's difficult for us to engage them, but they also have an interest in the the outcome of the planning process. And I think that obviously the people who live and work and on the Midcoast are the ones who know it best and the ones who have, I think, the greatest interest. So we'll focus most of our outreach efforts there. But it's you raise a good point. We must have a robust outreach effort.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay. Joe, two questions about the layout you presented. On your slide, you called for a Connect the Coast Side overview public meeting. This would be a virtual meeting, but you would try to cover the project in its entirety, and that you would have on separate days another virtual meeting for Moss Beach, Montara, and yet another one on a different day for El Granada, Miramar, and Princeton. So a person who was quite interested in all of the projects would have the opportunity as well as the need to attend 3 separate meetings that would be on different days to get the full scope, both in overview and details. Is that right?
Yes, that's the way it's designed right now. And Michelle has suggested that we consider designing 2 meetings, one being the overview and the other being a more detailed meeting with covering the entire case.
Yeah. So I'm a strong proponent of the 2 separate meetings. The reason being that when you get down to the details, that the highway issues in Moss Beach, Montara are complicated in their own right and detailed, as well as for El Granada and Miramar, and that you just can't put them all, you can't get to any level of detailed consideration and keep them in the same meeting. So I'm an advocate of that. The other question on your facilitated breakout groups, would those be breakouts designed to occur on the same day as a meeting? That is, you'd have a full session and then constitute a group of separate breakouts within the same meeting framework, or those happen on different days?
Within the same meeting framework. So we would, as I said, we would start with an overview presentation and some engagement on strategies to allow the public immediately, the meeting participants, to immediately kind of weigh in on some important questions that would then set the table for the breakout group. And in the breakout group, we would have some specific questions I see I think Susan would like to say something. But in any case, the breakout group is part of the meeting.
Yeah, Susan is unmuted now, and Joe, you're getting a little fuzzy. You might be, if you could pull the laptop a little closer, that might help.
Okay. Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah. So, Susan, could you request to speak so I'll know you're there?
Chair, this is Susan Clark, and I was going to add to Joe LeClaire's comments.
Go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to confirm that the meeting design is going to use different, Joe laid it all out. The poll is right in the Zoom function. The breakout meetings have facilitators, and people in the breakout will be able to capture their comments via chat and also the facilitator summary. So there is the recording of the total, plenary, if you will, part, but the intent is to have very detailed capture throughout, and using, as you know, this is a dynamic world, but state-of-the-art best as we can. And I think Joe and Katie have been working really hard to, have it be as thorough and substantive a process. And I also just wanted to commend that the MCC's help on the survey and the outreach and your suggestions, that also feeds into the outreach. So there's been a lot of work done with planning and the supervisor's office and the Office of Sustainability, and the survey outreach is going out to quite a wide range of contacts, and that in turn can help make sure that lots of folks are getting reached for these efforts.
Thank you. The other, I guess, meeting-related question, Joe, is in the original plans you had, you called for after the community meetings had occurred, you would do a redraft of the document, and then there would be a meeting of the MCC to present, your considerations of the final form and for a final recommendation from the MCC to come at that time. Is that still part of your overall framework?
Yes, it is. And I did not include the entire sort of outreach strategy because given the lateness of the hour and the fact that we haven't nailed down all of the subsequent public meetings, but certainly after this suite of 3 virtual meetings, we would plan to make plan revisions, bring that revised plan to the, I find that with people with phones on, they tend to add I think that may be where the static is coming from. So it's just a suggestion. If people on phone can mute while they're not there's no more static. We plan to come back to the MCC with a revised plan and get feedback. Then we would what our approach was after that was to do a workshop with the Planning Commission, and we hope that by the time we get to the Midcoast Community Council, we're able to have face-to-face meetings. But we can't guarantee that because we don't know how long the shelter-in-place order is going to be in effect. And then we would have a workshop before the Planning Commission, then a formal recommendation at a subsequent meeting from the Planning Commission, and then formal consideration by the Board of Supervisors. So we see that happening in the fall, early winter. So,
at this point, there are some members of the community on our meeting as well, and if any member of the community not on the council has a question they want to put forward, would you make a request to speak to the chair? Are they unmuted, Dave, so they can? Dave, you're muted.
What I really meant was everybody but me is unmuted.
Okay. I'll just give a few seconds if anyone in the community wants to speak.
Hi.
Hello?
Hi, this is Anne.
Yes, Anne.
In the community. And my question is, will these meetings take place after the Cypress project is either going through or not? I'm not really sure of the timing of the meetings.
Yeah. Hold on. So, Joe, you had the second item to clarify some timing questions on Cypress Point. So this is probably a good time for you to cover that.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. So the Cypress Point meeting is tentatively scheduled for May 27th before the Planning Commission to reconsider new information and then responses to comments and questions. So we plan to bring the Cypress Point zoning change before the Planning Commission in late May. That's May 27th. These meetings would probably occur before that meeting. These 3 virtual meetings.
Okay, so the goal would be to have those 3 prior to that Planning Commission meeting at the end of May. I know on the Cypress Point you're working on some interim, I'll call them interim designs. will those be made available within the framework of Cypress Point or for Connect the Coast side or both?
They'll be available for both.
Okay. So let's see. I think we've gotten sort of a high overview here, and I would expect the council individually as a whole has more questions. But since neither of these are coming up immediately, we can take time in our next MCC meeting to take stock of where we're at, both with respect to Connect the Coast side and Cypress Point. So I'll thank you, Joe. If anybody has any last questions you would like to ask Joe, please indicate so by giving me a shout out. Okay.
I got a question.
Go ahead, Dan. I can hear you.
Yeah, Joe.
Yes.
How is your level of quality video and audio? Because I've been hearing a lot of muffling, a lot of distortion. I'm not able to hear every word that you're saying. So I'm just curious before you get off, what is your, and Susan can chime in as well. I'm just curious because, this is important that we get this right.
Absolutely. And so my experience with, I've tried these virtual meetings in several different platforms. So this is my first pre-conference call meeting, and I tried to get into the last one that you had on the first, but I had technical difficulties, so I couldn't get in. But I've worked in both Teams environment, which is a Microsoft product, and a Zoom environment, and I found they're both superior to this. The sound quality, the video quality, and also the variety of tools that you have available are a little broader. And so that's why we're planning to go with Zoom. And I think that the planning commission has used Zoom for a couple of meetings, and there was some tweaks, and but overall, I thought the meeting went well.
Okay.
Okay, I'll listen to your response on the recording because again, it wasn't actually clear.
I'm sorry about that.
I don't think it's your fault.
Okay, hold on.
So Dan, as an experiment, you might try turning your video off and see if your audio quality is that helps on a lot of these conferences.
Is that better?
I don't think that is really an option.
Okay. Barbara, did you want to say something?
I haven't heard. I've just heard like every 10 words that Joe says. I have no clue what he or Susan have said. It's just like static.
Okay. Well,
your computer is the noisiest computer of the entire conference call, Barbara.
Mine is what?
Your computer setup is the noisiest setup on the entire call. And so you and I should work on that separately to try and figure out what's going on. Dan is the second most noisy. So I'm happy to work with both of you separately after this.
Dave, how are you measuring the noise?
Dave? Hey, Dan, I think I want to end this discussion, which involves Joe, and then move to our wrap-up. We'll go further into that topic to decide where to go from here.
Thank you very much, Chair. I want to clarify that you would like us to be available for some additional information at your next meeting.
Yes, most likely we would.
Okay, thank you. We'll be available for that. And okay. Thank you all for listening and sharing your input. This is very helpful.
Okay. Thanks a lot for attending.
All right. Bye now.
Goodbye.
Thank you, General.
Okay. I think we're basically at about 9:20, and I see at least two major issues just at a high level. One is it would seem to me that it would be useful to get some assessment of Zoom as another platform, but with just the council people to understand, what is that quality level like. That would give us a sense of, whether we see performance there. I know this is reaching out to Michelle and Dave, so I don't want to put that forward.
I'm happy to try it. I have been on 5 Zoom not council meetings, but government body meetings in the last month and a half, and they all have exactly the same problems.
Okay.
The problem here is that we have very limited internet bandwidth, and people are using 50 to 75% more bandwidth right now.
Gotcha. Okay.
I sort of feel differently. I mean, I've been on a lot of Zoom conferences with hundreds of people, and it's generally a lot more reliable than this.
Well, I guess it seems to me that really we have 2 weeks before our next meeting. We could easily, I mean, this involves, Michelle and Dave's effort, but we could conduct one with Zoom, which I think would allow us, to experience that as well as look at it. So.
It's the number of participants, and unless you want to schedule a special meeting, we can't have enough participants to tell the difference.
Understand that. But as Michelle indicated, I mean, Zoom is widely used in large numbers. Now, I have not, I know it reflects the whole network that's involved, so I don't want to go further in that. So basically, we should talk about it offline and make an assessment there. In terms of the virtual meetings, the whole shake-up there, as well as the postponement of the Cypress Point, I think as Joe indicated, he's willing to come back to our meeting on the 22nd, which would allow us probably a more detailed discussion of some of those points. So I think we would get more by planning to do that rather than to go further into what he's brought up there. That being said, I did. So does anyone else have anything else they'd like to bring up for tonight? Otherwise, our next connection meeting will be on the 22nd.
Yeah, I have several things to report under council activity.
Go for it.
So I attended the Coast-Side County Water District meeting primarily about rate setting and raising the rates. And they struggled with that in the time of coronavirus. And they're also having budget issues. Their revenues are starting to go down as people are not paying their bills. So that makes the situation even worse. They decided to go ahead and raise the rates, but if I understood the motion correctly, they will move the effectiveness out to July or August, so nobody's rates will go up in the short term. The other most recent meeting I attended was the Harbor District meeting, where they decided to close down the harbor completely, including dock sales. And there's an article in the Half Bay Review today which covers that pretty well, so I won't go into that too much more, but the issue of lost revenue to the fishermen was a quite significant issue for some of them.
Lost revenue if they closed it down?
Yes, the lost revenue because they can't sell fish on the dock anymore.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? So Dave, would it be useful to ask the harbor to come to our next meeting?
We could. I think that meeting was also recorded, I believe. I'm not sure. I think the articles in the review are pretty good, so I personally don't see the need.
Okay. Any other meetings to report on? Any other comments from the council tonight? Okay. And I'll accept the motion to adjourn. I can hear it. Okay, I think it was moved and seconded. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thank you all.
2 weeks.
The recording should be up in 2 or 3 days.
Hey, go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, just follow up on the quality of tonight's meeting and past meetings. Dave, how are you? You mentioned that Barbara's system was noisy, my system's noisy. I'm just interested in understanding how are you measuring the noise, or are you video noise, audio noise? What measurement are you taking? Because I'm in a pretty quiet room here.
It's audio noise. And when you run a meeting, you can see whose microphone is active. I'm not particularly worried about the video quality, although it's been mostly pretty good.
Actually, you can see it even if you're not running the meeting. I can see right now Barbara's screen has like 2 to 3 little green dots on it. Dan's, yours does too. It would be really helpful if you would mute yourself when you're not actively speaking. That would really, really improve the quality for everyone.
So I just unmuted myself, and while you were speaking and calling out, let's do this again, because you said you saw you saw the green dots. I'm going to go ahead and mute myself right now and tell me if they go away.
Yeah, they went away.
And the audio quality improved significantly.
Yeah, my guess is that has a factor of how close you're speaking to the microphone or how hot your mic.
There's just a lot of background noise. Like
there's nobody else in this house.
No,
just me.
But Dan, the noise we're talking about is your speaker noise.
Yeah, it's just like a common best practice to keep yourself on mute when you're not actively speaking. So that's what I'm just asking everyone to do. We're going to have the same problem on Zoom or any other system that we use. I do feel Zoom's better for other reasons, just network quality, but like this is going to be an issue. Everyone needs to stay on mute unless they're speaking, and you just have to remember to unmute yourself when you're ready to talk.
Right, and I was very aggressive this meeting on muting people, and I could occasionally see Barbara trying to talk, and I had to catch up and unmute her, and the same thing with you, Dan. So if you guys are good at muting yourself, then I don't have to force mute you, and you'll be able to unmute yourself.
I'm with you guys. I'm just don't get me, but I'm hearing you guys talk. I'm not saying anything, and I don't see any green dots on my screen.
I don't think you can see it on yourself. I'm not sure.
You see it for other people, not for yourself.
No, I can see it when I'm speaking, and when I stop speaking, they go away.
There's some there. Look, we'll try to give the best consideration we can to this and setting up for the next meeting, but I think we've gone as far as we're going to go tonight. We know there's issues, and as Michelle points out, and Dave as well, they're common as the whole world tries this. Okay.
Len, it's not correct to just make light of this. We do have to have a quality meeting.
That's
and
not
so
the point,
I think we'll work it out. We'll work it out, right?
That's the point.
Okay.
Okay? Not making light of it at all, because we know if it's not reasonable quality, we can't succeed. Okay, thank you, everybody.
All right, meeting is now adjourned. I'm turning off recording.
Okay.
Okay, good night.